Good morning, Australia, and welcome to the Morning Movie Show. I'm your host, Scott Wilson, and alongside me is my good friend and co-host, James Ferguson. Now, James, we've got a very interesting movie to discuss today. V for Vendetta, the 2006 thriller by the Wachowski brothers. What comments do you think the director is trying to make with this film?
Well, he's portraying terrorism in a positive light, as it is usually seen in a negative light in today's media.
Very true, very true. And I think, well, we can obviously see that when he goes into the news studio and takes it hostage with a bomb and everything, but we don't think of the people he uses as hostages as victims. I mean,
they're just kind of in his way.
Yeah, they're in his way. If you look at the film,
they are portrayed as the enemy.
Exactly. That is very good.
The point of view in which terrorism is viewed has been switched from a normal, conventional terrorism is evil view of today's society to a
good way.
Finish my sentence.
Yes, good way. So I think that for the underlying attitude of the director, I mean, he's obviously, big things set in the future, scary as hell. The government, he's surveilling all the people. We see that. We see footage of the van driving down the street, and the people inside, they're picking up all the signals. And they're hearing all these conversations, and that's very intrusive.
Parallels to a lot of other media, doesn't it?
Yes.
Such as George Orwell's 1984.
I haven't seen that film.
It's a book.
Is it a book? Oh, well, that's probably why I haven't seen it.
We've talked about it in class.
Have we talked about it in class?
It also portrays to the pedestrian.
Does it?
Yes.
Wow.
With oppressive police force set in the future.
Yes, of course, because in that story, the police are the baddies.
Yes.
Just like in this one, that's very good.
Who will police the police?
Exactly, and that's where V comes in.
Yes.
We've stumbled upon it, James. That is very clever. Yes, V, the police of the police, and everyone above the police, really.
But it's kind of as if he's a double agent, because the police are after him, but he's after the police.
Wow.
It parallels to a lot of other movies, such as The Count of Monte Cristo.
Oh yes,
Which they actually watch in the movie, him and Evie.
That is also a very interesting scene. I mean, we could see, if the parallels are not obvious, the Wachowski brothers have gone out of their way and deliberately put a scene in the movie where they're watching a film that parallels the film that he's in.
Mm.
That is very clever.
Very, very well done.
Oh, just a little bit subtle, just a little bit. I mean, if it's not as obvious as that, I don't know what is. But yeah, that's...
But they both use, they were both treated harshly in their past, and they both changed their personas to go through and take out revenge.
Just like in The Count of Monte Cristo.
Yes. And they even say...
Yeah. But it made me feel sorry for Mercedes.
Why?
Because he cared more about revenge than he did about...
And that parallels to V and Evie. V cares more about revenge than he does about Evie, just as Monte Cristo cares more about the person.
Yes. Yes, that is actually a very interesting point. Now, the audience response, I mean, if you look, I've done some research on the internet about the reviews this film got, and mixed, very mixed. Some people hated it. Some people thought it was really good. But what did you think, James? How did you respond to this?
I quite liked it. I like the way it kind of warns today's society of where war on terrorism is heading. It has achieved very little, and it may even set us back. That is a personal opinion of mine, but that's
pretty. I think I agree with you. I mean, throughout the film, we were given very little hint about other countries apart from England, and it very much stays in London, England. It doesn't really explore, but we hear in news broadcasts how America's in another civil war. So I can see how, the Wachowski brothers hinting at the idea of another civil war could infuriate particularly Americans, but what do they know? I mean, come on. What do they know? I know, they're American.
Rednecks.
Rednecks indeed. Now, that is probably an appropriate way to respond to a text like this. I mean, the inclusion of, another civil war, the themes of, government control, was it a totalitarian? Totalitarian, that's a tongue twister for you. It's not really fascism, but it's the film, the use of dark colours. We're always seeing dark and red, and the symbol is a red sort of double cross, which...
What was it? the Cross of Lorraine, which was actually used as on the Free French flag during the Second World War against, kind of as an answer to the Nazi swastika.
And I think what's also very important is that you have footage of the family.
It's really how one of the themes is reinforced.
Yes.
That is one of the main techniques they've used.
Yeah, open lying. It's just all it is, lying. And back to what I was saying before, the family at home with the little girl with the glasses and she says, she looks at the news broadcast and she goes, bollocks. And that for me just highlights the fact that, you know, maybe there is still hope for England. Maybe the people aren't completely susceptible to open lying by their own government. It's also interesting what V says in his news broadcast. He tells the people that the Norse Fire Party is evil, well, literally evil, and that he is inviting the people to rise up and come next year.
He forgives them.
Yeah.
For their sins, basically. Because they were the ones who brought Norse Fire to power.
Yes, because, and I just realised something. That is a bit of a religious parallel. Jesus dying on the cross for our sins. V at the end of the film dies for the people of England, even though it's the people of England who are doing the wrong thing. So a bit of religious slight, but you could see the parallel to it.
And the cross, changing from the cross of St. George to the cross of Lorraine, direct religious symbol there.
Yes, religious cross.
Yes.
Also, V's mask, the Guy Fawkes mask.
Guy Fawkes mask. Well, I think what he's doing there, rather than getting people to remember him, his mask becomes more of a symbol, such as we're told to remember the idea, not the man.
And that's an important line in the film. That's one of another theme.
Yes.
Is ideas, idealism. Now, very interesting how the Norse Fire Party...
Wait, go back. Yes, he says, beneath this mask there is more than flesh, beneath this mask there is an idea, Mr. Greedy, and ideas are bulletproof. One of the key lines of the movie.
I think that is the most important line of the whole movie. That is also good because that line is at the end of the movie. We've heard all of these speeches. You know, he quotes Macbeth. He does, you know, Shakespeare.
He uses a lot of V's when he talks.
He's very intelligent, and we get a backstory as to why he's intelligent with experimental stuff and whatever. But throughout the film, we're building up to V, and then that line at the end just typifies it. He shows that V is the idea, and I think that really brings it in front of our eyes. It makes it really obvious.
And it really uses the viewer's values to portray terrorism in a good way, in a good light, and using the mask as a symbol for the good terrorism, if you get what I mean.
Yes, the good terrorist, and if you look at today's society, you know, terrorist takes hold of a plane, terrorist threatens people, you know, but what if we looked at it from their point of view? I mean, sure.
It just really changes it around.
Yeah, so I think that's very interesting. One thing as well is the use of these weapons.
The way he holds them in a V shape.
Yes, the V. The repetition of, like, in Lark Hill, the Institute, on his door is the number 5 in Roman numerals, V. When in the end of the film, when he's being attacked by Creedy's men, they're all standing in a V formation. When the Old Bailey blows up at the start of the film, the fireworks shoot off in a V shape. When Parliament blows up at the end of the film, fireworks shoot off in a V shape.
And when he confronts Creedy in his own home, he plays Beethoven's 5th Symphony.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't pick that up, but that's very good, James.
Many values are used to get the audience on side of V, despite the fact he is a terrorist and uses violence to get his own way. What values and attitudes did you find were reinforced in this movie?
Definitely.
By the Wachowski brothers.
Well, the Wachowski brothers went for the obvious. Freedom of speech. And we see that, well...
Plain human rights.
Human rights.
A complete violation of human rights, linking back to Nazi Germany.
Yes, and we've got all examples from the film. The surveillance vans that drive around using radio frequencies to pick up people's conversations, and then they go and report to the Chancellor, you know.
Notice it says on the back of the van, for your protection.
It's for their benefit. Well, it's not...
Another form of propaganda used by the government.
Yes.
Along with the science. the strength through unity and unity through faith.
And that's very interesting because the values, you see, that sentence, that slogan, has values in it: strength, unity, faith. And what's interesting is towards the end of the film, when you see people graffitiing the V over it, as if no, V is strength, unity, and faith, not the government.
How these values, attitudes, and themes were enforced?
Well, through examples from the film, V, the symbol, being painted over the slogan.
I think the way that they've shown what could happen if we continue to live the way we are, if we continue to fight wars which shouldn't be fought, such as the war on terrorism.
And if we let our fear take the best of us, I mean, as V says in the film, he says, "Fear got the best of you, and you turned to Adam Sutler." Interesting enough. The now High Chancellor. Interesting. Adam Sutler, Adolf Hitler. But first letter is A. The last syllable of their last name is Adolf Hitler, Adam Sutler. So
another way it links back to Nazi Germany.
Exactly.
Which plays on our fears.
And we all hate our fears.
Yeah, to show that is a way that they get V to appear good. He's the lesser of two evils, in a way.
I mean, sure, he does bad things. He kills policemen. But he's
fighting for the values that the viewer believes in. Such as freedom of speech, and basically a good life.
Yes, that's very good. So I think we'll have to leave it there.
Yes. Go.
So James, summing up, what makes this a worthwhile film?
It's thought-provoking and quite intelligent. It's not your average, real violent superhero movie. It actually really does serve a purpose. It's a warning, basically, to today's society, to show where fear could lead us.
And we'll see you next week on The Movie Show.